Hello everyone and welcome to the Study Abroad Gyan, the podcast where we talk about higher education decisions before students panic and parents start calculating EMI on the dining table. I'm Samiksha from ASCC and today's episode is about a question that creates drama in almost every Indian household. After graduation, मास्टर्स इन इंडिया मध्ये करायचं की मास्टर्स अब्रॉड मध्ये करायचं? येस, मास्टर्स इन इंडिया वर्सेस मास्टर्स इन अब्रॉड. This is not just an academic decision. This is about money, time, career, expectations and relatives' opinions and future plans, all rolled into one. So today's we are breaking it down clearly, honestly and practically. And to do that, we have a perfect guest with us, Mr. Hiren Panjwani. Joining us today, an engineer turned educator and counselor. After studying electronics and telecommunication engineering and working in the automotive industry, he made a career shift into education consulting, a move many engineers secretly dream about. He is an experienced trainer for JRE, SAT, TOEFL, IELTS, PTE and DET and has guided over 3,000 students in their study abroad journeys. Currently, he is the manager of counseling operations and excellence at ASCC, making sure students don't just apply abroad but apply right. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me.
We are really excited to have you. Now we can just go through our discussion questions. The first question is, let's begin with the overall landscape of higher studies abroad. How many Indian students are currently pursuing master's degree abroad?
If you look at the data published by the Ministry of External Affairs from the Government of India, in 2025, around 18 lakh Indian students were seen to be pursuing their education in the form of high school education or their degree education overseas. And out of those 18 lakh students, around 12.5 lakh students are pursuing degree courses, which are in the form of a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. While the data does not go further and split the number of students who are pursuing bachelor's and the number of students pursuing masters, it can confidently be said through the trends we see that a majority of those 12.5 lakh students are pursuing master's degrees abroad.
Okay. Now the next question, why are these students pursuing master's degree in abroad instead of their home country?
Well, there are several factors that are driving this trend, but the one factor that we see to be coming out to be the most significant, what we hear the most from our students, is that there are certain courses that are very specific and niche and they aren't really that widely available here in India, at least as of now. If we take the example of a course called Human Computer Interaction, also known as HCI, this is a very niche and an interdisciplinary master's program that involves a mix of computer science, human psychology, and design thinking. Now, in India, there are some courses that are part-time or just some certificate programs for HCI. But when it comes to full-time research-backed master's programs, it seems to be not that widely available to students right now. And if you look at many destinations overseas, universities like Carnegie Mellon, there's University College London, even another university in US called Georgia Tech. These universities have had several years of this program in their universities. They are very well established, and these programs are not the only one that they're looking for, human computer interaction. There are other courses as well. For example, there's another course which is related to a mix between finance and human psychology. There are other courses that are related to game design, something related to sustainability engineering. So many such niche courses that are not that abundantly available right now are being pursued by our Indian students overseas.
Okay. So next question is, some courses are available in India but still studies abroad. Which are these and are they better in overseas?
Yeah, so courses or programs that generally fall under the umbrella of STEM also known as science, technology, engineering, and math, there are many such programs like artificial intelligence, machine learning, courses related to finances. It is generally seen that these courses, if pursued abroad, tend to fare better for students than pursuing them here in India. Um, I'm saying this because when it comes to the overall experience, it is much more fruitful, considering that universities overseas provide a very closed loop and a tight ecosystem of universities, research labs, and also the industry. So when a student from India pursues a master's degree overseas, they initially start their education in the university, which also opens their gateways towards doing some sort of internship, part-time jobs or co-ops in these research labs or even in the industry. And if these students really do well, then they are able to convert those internships or part-time opportunities into full-time opportunities, and that is something that is quite lucrative for a lot of STEM students. There are other disciplines which are in the areas of arts, humanities, that don't offer this sort of ecosystem. But if a student has a really exceptional profile and if they've really done well in their masters overseas, then those individuals, when they graduate, have very high demand in the industry, and they end up doing really well in their careers.
Okay. Now we move to our next question. Education is an investment. How big is the cost difference between doing a master's in India versus master's in abroad?
Yeah. Before I get into specific figures, I think we all should know that be it India or many destinations overseas, costs tend to vary substantially depending upon the program that they're opting for and the universities that they're getting to. But to paint a general picture, a student who pursues a master's degree here in India would spend anywhere about a couple of lakh rupees to even 20-25 lakh rupees, if we look at the higher range, and that is just the fee that they pay for the 2-year program, in comparison to programs in major destinations overseas like US, Canada, UK, certain emerging destinations like Ireland, Germany. We see that the tuition, which is the major expense, ranges anywhere from a couple of $1,000 USD a year to even tens of thousands of dollars in USD. So we see that majority of students tend to spend anywhere between 20,000 US dollars to 40,000 US dollars a year, which is converted into, if I take a broader figure, it would be around 18 lakh rupees to 36 lakh rupees, for a single year. Now these figures sound very intimidating, and as you said in the introduction, people do tend to give a lot of second thought to it, considering that it's a high investment. But when we look at the kind of return on investment that people make overseas, we generally find that students are able to easily manage their finances such that their living expenses get covered when they are studying and working part-time. And after graduation, they land jobs that allow them to get a return on investment of this tuition amount if they work and do well in the first few years of their careers.
Okay. Now the last question. Many students pursue a master's abroad to earn well after graduation. How do employability and starting salaries compare for graduates from India versus abroad?
Yeah. Now, we talked about tuitions, expenses, and how they vary a lot. And that can be considered the same when it comes to the kind of incomes that students earn in the first few years in their careers after graduation. So, if we consider fresh graduates in India, especially from non-top tier institutes, we find that students get starting salaries anywhere between 3 lakh rupees to 8 lakh rupees a year, which is a good start to have. However, when we compare that to students who graduate from universities in major destinations overseas, we find that their starting salaries range anywhere between $50,000 a year US to even $100,000 a year. Now, one might say that the cost of living in those countries is too high, which is why the incomes are high. However, when we compare salaries in terms of purchasing power parity, it is generally seen that students who have their careers set overseas, they end up earning 2 or 3 times more than what students earn here in India.
Thank you so much, sir. That definitely clears a lot of confusion and probably saved a few family arguments too. Now let's make a thing faster, sharper, and little more fun. It's time for our rapid fire round. Quick questions, honest answers.
All right, let's go.
The first question is top Indian institute versus an average foreign university. Which is better?
Top Indian institutes by far, provide that students are okay with little to no global exposure.
Okay. Is a master's degree abroad harder than in India?
Well, masters abroad is not difficult, it's just different because their courses are more practical and they make students more work ready.
Okay. Should student pursue online masters abroad? Yes or no?
It's not really recommended if students are looking for better job prospects and cultural exposure, then they should rather go for a in-person full-time program.
Okay. Does a master's abroad guarantee permanent residency?
No, it never does, but it helps a lot in the process.
Okay. Should students take education loans for masters abroad?
Yes, they should, provided that they first looked into their scholarship options and they have gathered some funds through their family savings.
Okay. How early should students apply to universities overseas?
Typically, 9 to 12 months is ideal if people want to have the best options open for them.
Okay. What's the one thing all master students must do in 2026 and beyond?
Well, one best advice is that look for a compatibility between one's interests and the programs that they would apply to. Opportunities are abundant right now, they are very diverse. All students need to do is just trust the process, go for it, and I'm sure they would never regret it.
Okay. Thank you so much for this informative session and insights you give to our Indian parents and students about their confusion. So, sir, is there any message you would like to give our Indian parents and students about this confusion if they are still confused after this informative session?
Yeah, so if you look at what's going to be like the scenario 2026 and beyond, universities are looking for quality over quantity. They are looking for students who are very clear focused. So if they are going for a master's program or any sort of higher education which is relevant to their interests, relevant to their previous years of education, then they have some great options open. They need to make sure that they apply early, and that's going to open up a lot of opportunities moving forward. Maybe sentiment wise, people might feel a little dicey, or it could be confusing, but I'm sure that in a couple of years after they graduate, when they enter a pool where competition is relatively low, I think they are going to find the scenario to be much better.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your insights, experience, and honest perspective. Today's conversation is clearly shows that choosing between a master's in India versus master's in abroad is not about following trends, relatives, or social media comparisons, but about understanding your own goals, finances, and career directions. Because the right master's degree is not one that sounds impressive at a family function, it's one that actually works for your future. This brings us to the end of today's session of Study Abroad Gyan. We will be back soon with another topic that students and parents actually need, not just trending topics. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned.